Now we're going to read Chapter 4, The Unfortunate Case, from Mango's Mischief and Tales of Friendship, Stories from India, written by Chitra Soundar and illustrated by Uma Krishnaswamy, and published by Candlewick Press. Chapter 4, The Unfortunate Case. It was a hot summer. No one in the kingdom studied during the hottest months. The sun scorched the earth. Lakes and streams dried up. The children were allowed to play outdoors only until noon, and then again at dusk. They had to remain indoors during the afternoon. Prince Vera and Suku spent their time in the mangroves near the palace. The grove was shady and cool. The boys climbed trees, chased dragonflies, and feasted on juicy mangoes. A river ran right through the grove that was fed from the beautiful hills of Hemtuk, and it never dried up. After a long day of playing, the boys were tired. The sun was setting, and it was the right time to get something to eat. "Let's go to the palace and raid the kitchen," said Vera. "That's what we always do," said Suku. "Why don't we go to the marketplace today?" Prince Vera never turned down an opportunity to mingle with his people. He preferred to roam the streets rather than travel in style in a carriage. "Let's do that," he said. So the boys set off to market with a silver coin each. A guard dressed in plain clothes followed them at a discreet distance. The market was bustling with people. The stalls were filled with fruits and vegetables, sweets and cold drinks. One man sold tender coconut water, and another sold palm fruits. A woman sold buttermilk from a huge mud pot. People came to the market on horses and donkeys and in carts. The sound of animals mingled with the noise of the vendors and the bells from the temple nearby. Prince Vera enjoyed his visits to the market. It was much more exciting than the palace. Suku and Vera wandered around, trying on hats, eating mangoes, and drinking coconut milk. As they approached the village square, people were whispering. Suku spotted a man under a banyan tree. The man was dressed in rags, and he carried a dirty cotton bag. "What is it?" the prince asked. "Why are the people whispering?" "Nothing, my friend. Let's go the other way. To the other street," Suku said, steering Vera away. Then, psst, Prince Vera turned and saw the look of dismay on his friend's face. Vera burst out laughing. Suku had stepped in horse manure. He held up his leg and hopped around. "You never watch where you walk," Vera said. "It's not my fault," cried Suku. "It is all because of the bad luck that man spreads." "Why are you blaming a stranger, Suku?" asked Vera. Suku didn't reply. He approached a nearby shop and asked the shopkeeper for a pot of water to clean his shoe. "Let's go," he said. Even after they returned to the palace, Prince Vera couldn't help thinking about the incident at the market. "Are you going to tell me or not?" he asked. "Why did you blame the man from the market?" "I don't want to share bad luck, Vera," said Suku. "Why don't you just let it go?" "I thought you knew me better," said Vera. "I will tell you then," said Suku. "The man's name is Juri. He spreads bad luck throughout the kingdom." "How could someone spread bad luck?" asked Vera. "What does he do?" "He does nothing. Just by seeing or talking to him, something bad will happen to you," Suku explained, still examining his shoes for specks of horse manure. "I'm sure that it's just superstition," said Vera. "Not at all. I stepped in horse manure as soon as I saw him." "That was because you never watch where you walk," said Vera. "You were slurping on the juicy mangoes." "I don't agree," said Suku. "It's all bad luck, and that man is spreading it." Prince Vera argued hard and long with Suku, but they got nowhere. "Let's ask my father," he suggested. "Don't do that, Vera. The king will want to meet this man. What if something bad happens to the king?" "A king should meet all of his subjects," said the prince. "He cannot discriminate." So they took their problem to the king. King Bhima listened carefully, and then he had a word with his ministers. Everyone agreed that Suku was right. This man Juri did spread bad luck. "Interesting," said the king. "I wish to see him tomorrow." The next morning, while the king was getting dressed, he looked out the window. The guards were bringing a poor, dirty man into the palace. "Are you ready for the court, my dear?" asked the queen. The king turned swiftly and knocked over a glass of water. "Careful," said the queen. "Don't be in such a hurry." When the king sat down for breakfast, he was told that the royal chef was not feeling well, so the king was unable to eat his favorite meal, aloo paratha, bread with spicy potato filling. As the king approached the throne, he banged his leg and yelped in pain. Hurriedly, he sat down, wishing that he had not peeped out the window that morning and looked at that man. He wished he had listened to his ministers, too. But he was the king. He had to meet everyone, even the man who spread bad luck. "Bring in Duri," the king ordered. Prince Viri and Suku stood behind the ministers and watched the proceedings. Suku shut his eyes tight and refused to look at the man, even when Prince Viri nudged him. "Duri, do you spread bad luck?" asked the king. "I think I am filled with bad luck, your majesty," the man replied. "I have no work, no friends, and no family. But I don't believe that I bring ill to anyone else." "But that's not true," said the king. "I glanced at you early this morning from my window. I knocked over a glass of water. My favorite breakfast was not available, and I hurt my toes." "Well, that could be carelessness, coincidence, and haste, your majesty." "Are you calling me careless and hasty?" "Not at all, your majesty. It happens to the best of us," Duri said. "Some days are better than others." Prince Vira smiled. This man was intelligent, courageous, and articulate. It was unfortunate that no one gave him work. "But I don't agree," said the king. "I agree with my ministers that you indeed spread bad luck. I condemn you to 25 years imprisonment so no one will ever have to suffer again." "That's not fair, your majesty," said Duri. "I didn't do anything wrong." Prince Vira was shocked. He pulled Suku by the hand and stepped forward. "Father." "Your majesty," he began, "this is not fair." "You are a child. Know your place," said the king. "But you have always taught me to raise my voice against unfair things," said Vira. "This is one of them." "This man spreads bad luck," the king said. "But I can present to you another man who spreads more bad luck than Duri. Is there another one of those in my kingdom? Who is it?" "You!" cried Prince Vira. "You have managed to spread more bad luck than Duri." Everyone in the court gasped. They looked at the king with the prince with horror. Suku stepped back and moved behind the curtains. "Vira, mind your words," said the king. "Please listen to me, father. You glanced at Duri this morning, and you had these minor accidents. You blame him for all your bad luck. But Duri didn't even look at you this morning. He was just coming over to see you. Yet you have sentenced him to 25 years in prison." Duri looked up and smiled. "If you believe Duri caused your hardship, then it is just superstition," said Vira. "Duri never intended to harm you, but what you did to him is deliberate. You want him to rot in prison. It seems to me that you spread more bad luck and ill will than he does, father." King Bhima closed his eyes, and he nodded slowly. Then he stepped down from his throne and hugged his son. "You are right, my son. I was swayed by my emotions. I committed an injustice. Thank you for speaking the truth and speaking it loudly." The king walked back to his throne and looked at the court. "Here in this court, we almost fell into the traps of superstition. I apologize to Duri for my hasty judgment. I am thankful to the prince, your majesty," said Duri, "and I am grateful to you for heeding the voices in your court. May your rule flourish and prosper." "Duri, you are a free man," said the king. "The minister will help you find a job and a place to stay." The court adjourned, and Suku peeped through the curtain. "You were very brave, Vira." "I just stood up for the right thing," said Prince Vira. "That is what princes do."